Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Friday, June 25th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Coming back from a day off, Coach, did you get a chance to watch Phoenix and the Clippers as the Clippers make it a series?
I did. I absolutely did. I enjoyed the day yesterday, got a lot done, and then got to meet up with one of our Coach Talk team here that just relocated to Dallas, and that's Brett Trimble. He got a big job down here at PPG Aviation, so real proud of him. And we actually connected last night and watched the basketball game and had a few cold ones. So it was a blast.
Yeah, it was terrific and fun game. Fun to see a series out west now.
Yeah.
And now we get to talk about Atlanta Milwaukee game two. We
Yes.
haven't talked much since that game, since you had the day off yesterday. But Trae Young, 48, 7, and
My
11.
God. Yeah.
And that's going to be a key consideration tonight of do we go back to Trae? Do we involve him in our lineups or not?
Yeah. It is to Trey or not to Trey. That is the question
Yes,
going into
indeed.
this one. Because, we have both been hesitant and faded him some in both of these series, the last two series, because he went against Ben Simmons and now he's going against Drew Holiday. We're talking about multiple all NBA defensive perimeter players. In fact, Ben Simmons was first team this year. Drew Holiday's been on multiple first and second teams. And it just doesn't seem to matter, Andrew. I mean, I at about when he got to about 40, 42 points, in Discord, I put the white flag up like,
Right.
I don't know if anybody can guard him right now. I mean, it's hard to believe that knowing that he's their primary scorer by a mile, especially with Bogdanovich hurt, and the fact that he was able to get 34 clean looks up, shoot 50% from the field, get to the line 12 times, and put 48 real points on them to beat them. I mean, I'm stunned. I still am. I find that hard to believe that was a Milwaukee team that's always in the top 10 defensively, and they have Drew Holiday, and they could not slow him down.
Yeah, I mean, nice groundwork there. I do agree that's the key decision to make today, and I'll pick up there from where he left off and discuss this Trae Young issue as we get started on the Atlanta side.
Yeah,
And he was absolutely tremendous, and he showed that he can't be stopped by one guy because Drew Holiday is terrific. But here's the thing I noticed is every time they set a pick for Trae Young at the top of the key, I thought Atlanta did an excellent job where Trae was connecting with the pick setter, and they were really getting Drew Holiday right in their chest. Trae
yeah,
was running off the screen perfectly. The big was setting it so well that he got separation from Drew Holiday, not because Holiday wasn't trying, but
yeah.
they've perfected that pick and roll for Trae at the top of the key over the course of the season, and then Trae was able to get in the lane, get downhill, and either shoot that floater, lob it to the other big, or kick out for an open shot. So they really ran it to perfection in game one. I think Milwaukee will make adjustments. The big will get out there and crowd him more, and they'll double him. They'll get the ball out of his hands. They're just not going to let him get into the paint like that. Uh,
You know, I, I, you hit the nail on the head. But here's the thing. This is the question that I have, Andrew. Philly knew that, Milwaukee knew that, and we're talking a string of games here where we all know that. I mean, a novice basketball coach or person watching would say, okay, they need to get the ball out of the hands of that guy. He's beating them single-handedly. And that's the part that has me just stymied, because I think you made a great point. And it's funny you say that, because one of my points of contention as a coach, and something I would really practice my guys at all the time, and people just take it for granted, is setting a good screen, and even more importantly, using that screen. Because at all levels, you see it in every NBA game. How many NBA games do you see where there's 3 or 4 at least illegal screens set by one of the big guys generally?
yep.
Because people don't get set. They turn. They're not great at setting screens. And the reason that they get caught leaning is because generally the people using the screen aren't tight enough. I
Right.
mean, I would force my guys to literally bump shoulders on those screens. And I know it sounds rudimentary, but it's the same mistake they make from grade school basketball up to the NBA. And what Atlanta does great is you can tell that they're very drilled in setting and using that screen properly. So then a decision has to be made by the defender. Do you go under it? Do you go over it? Do you switch? And then that creates, the domino effect from there. But you're correct that's what they've done so well against both teams. But the adjustment that I don't see, that I'm wondering if they're going to do today, is when they use that screen, do you double with the two guys that are screening and force them to give it up? And if that guy rolls, you just have to have somebody helping inside. You've got Lopez and Giannis, for God's sakes. Use those guys in the paint to stop the roller and make him give it up. I would insist to get beat if I lose by Kevin Huerter, John Collins, an injured Bogdanovich, Gallinari, whatever. I will take my chances there as opposed to allowing Young to get 35 shots and score 48 points.
Exactly.
So that is, like you said, the $1 million question is, do we finally succumb to this and say they're going to give Young his and just try to beat him elsewhere? Or, as we're talking, are they going to do something, jump that screen, show it, bring somebody over from help side, come over top of it, and then double it so somebody has to pick up the roller? There's lots of ways you can do that to not allow Trae Young to either get the step back three, or what is completely inexcusable to me is that damn floater, that 5-6 foot floater, which he's just deadly at. I mean, you just can't. The guy's 6 foot 165, for God's sakes. It's not like he should be powering down the middle of the paint. So that's the question. And which side are you leaning on? Are you going to say, okay, Trae's a plug and play like we did with Kawhi and different guys and Luka, or is this the time that Milwaukee's able to adjust? Because the entire showdown slate depends on that one fact.
Yeah, so I think Milwaukee is going to adjust enough where he's not going to smash again. There's no way they're going to let him take 35 shots and get all those floaters and get to the line for 12 free throws. I think what I would do is either double him and chase him, however you have to get the two guys on him to get the ball out of his hands, because I'd rather play 4 against 3 with one of their bigs trying to navigate around the top of the key than let him get in the paint. And I know he's going to split the screen sometimes. He's going to get into the paint. It's not like they're going to keep him out of the paint for the whole game. You just have to limit it. Or go under the screen and force him to take long threes, because he can be a little bit cold on threes. We saw Philly hold him under even 40 fantasy points. I mean, he's not going to go for 70 fantasy points every night. And one way to improve your chances of that is if he's taking all threes. If he misses a handful, then that's one way to do it. So I think they'll guide him more towards passing it or taking long threes. And so I think the thing you can look at, especially on FanDuel where you're only picking 5 players, is to fade him. Going to have to keep playing around with it. I'm not saying you should completely fade him on all lineups, on all sites, but I think it's easier to potentially fade him on FanDuel where you only have 5 players. On 6 players on DraftKings, if you go with a little bit of a cheaper captain, then you can still get him in there.
Right.
But I think this is a chance where you look a little bit more at the secondary guys. You look at Huerter, who really wasn't great. He got up 12 shots. He's obviously way healthier than Bogdanovich, who only took 6 shots in 27 minutes. So I think Huerter could get a little bit of a bump. I like Gallinari when he's coming off the bench. He had the 25 minutes. I was surprised he only went for 9 and 1.
Yeah.
I would think he would do a little bit better than that. But then the bigs for Atlanta are in play for me here. Collins and Capella were awesome, especially
Yeah.
on the glass. They combined for 34 rebounds, both strong double doubles, and they're way cheaper. So you can get one or both of those guys in your lineup and get some Milwaukee studs out there. That's another way to go. So right now, I'm leaning towards trying to fade Trae Young on FanDuel because his price has gone up there as well. And
Right.
then looking at one or both of the bigs, possibly a Herter, possibly a Gallo. And then with the bench guys for Atlanta, I just want to mention that Lou Williams got 12 minutes, didn't do too much. Solomon Hill got 20 minutes. They didn't play Cam Reddish, even though he was active.
Yeah.
And Solomon Hill was actually in the winning lineup on DraftKings.
It's
He's
amazing.
he's still minimum price at 1,000, and you look at it: 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Doesn't sound like much, but sometimes on a showdown, that can be enough for a minimum price guy. So he could come into play on DraftKings where he's still 1,000, not so much on FanDuel where he's 7,000. But that's my general approach for Atlanta. How are you looking at it at this point?
Well, there's lots of things into consideration here. This is one of the most strategic games I think of the playoffs so thus far. That's why, we're probably going to go a little longer than we normally do on a one gamer, but we really need to sift through this because it is confusing as far as trying to figure out how to game script for this next game. There are a couple of things that come into play for me. One is Vegas has the line here, Milwaukee -8. So it went from a Milwaukee -6.5. Now it's Milwaukee -8. So, that tells Vegas thinks bounce back, obviously hold everybody down a little bit, including Trae. And it's a 225.5 over under. So they do think, they're going to get up and down the floor, but Milwaukee's, going to be much better than they were in game one. And then, the factor of Bogdanovich. We're both huge Bogey fans, but I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole. I think he's really just being very heroic just to be out there. He looks terrible. He can't plant off that knee. And he's all about moving without the ball, sort of, in that mold of a guy just, like the Reddicks and the great shooters that just move, curl off screens, and get open and get those feet set and get balanced to shoot it. And he can't do it with that bum knee. So he's not even close to on my radar. I don't, know how much they'll roll him out there. Maybe, he'll hit a couple threes, but I just don't see extended minutes or, being able to get it done. The other aspect, we talked about it before game one. Both teams coming off a really tough game, 7-game series. Both teams tired, both teams needing to go deeper on their bench. So we did predict, and we talked about it, that these teams, even though they had gone 6 deep basically in their last couple of games in the last series, they both went 10 deep. And, we knew that was coming. It's a long series. You got to try to get a little rest for your guys. You can't play 43, 45 or full games every game, or you're just not going to get through the playoffs. So you saw a reduction. Herter played 36, Collins 36, Capella 37. All those are reasonable. And then they used their bench a lot more. Now the question is, does that start to lessen? And I think it will. I think now that they've had the 4 days rest between that last series with just that one game in between, I think you'll see a reduction in Solomon Hill specifically. I don't think he'll get 20 minutes again. I think he'll get more like 10. Gallo got 25, but I think he'll see that again because of Bogdanovich's injury. But after that, really, the only guys I'm looking at here are Herter, Collins, Capella, Trae Young, and possibly Gallinari. I agree with you. The other guys will get a few minutes. Lou, Okongwu, not enough to play him in a showdown. So it comes down to that fact of, do you play Trae or not? I'm also leaning to sitting him because Coach Bud's a decent coach. This just seems very obvious, and I've got to think his 34 shot attempts go down to 22, maybe 23, which is still a lot, but it's a big difference. And I think you take that usage when they take the ball out of his hands. And I love all four of these guys. I'll only probably use two or maybe three of them. But Herter, Collins, Capella, and Gallinari, the pricing, how it works out with wanting to put the good Milwaukee guys in by not having to pay all the way up for Trae Young makes it very doable for me. And I was super high on Capella the last game. I went in depth why. I felt like he'd be a bigger contributor in this series than he was in the prior. And, even talked about him having that 20 rebound potential. And he had 19 rebounds with 2 minutes left and couldn't get the 20th. So I couldn't get all frosty about it. But, if he's going to get up, he was 6 for 9. I'd like to see him get 10, 11, 12 shots. A couple more lobs would be great. And the big rebound numbers, and he's going to get just a few stocks here and there. I think he's a great play. And John Collins, I mean, let's face it, man, he has taken it up a notch. I was interested to see how he'd play in that first game, after getting all cocky, wearing the shirt in the press conference of him dunking on Embiid and sort of being a little, arrogant out there. But 11 for 16 from the field with 15 rebounds, and that's a guy that can get hot quick. So I really like those guys. And Herter, he 5 for 12, but that's all right. I mean, he's taken the world by storm here, pulling out that game 7 for them. I think he adjusts back and does great. So I'm going to be heavy on Atlanta, Andrew. I think all four of those guys are going to make quite a few of my rosters and still allow me to get a stud in on the Milwaukee side.
Excellent.
So I like the Hawks.
Yeah, one more point I'll make on Bogdanovich. You mentioned him coming off those screens. The other thing is PJ Tucker was defending him a lot, and that's no joke. You need to be at 100% to try to get around PJ Tucker. So
yeah,
another down, a negative point for Bogdanovich, even though we do love him when he's healthy.
No question.
All right, Coach, you want to take us through the Milwaukee side?
Yeah, and same thing with Milwaukee. As we stated, they went deeper and they played guys more minutes. I think that's going to squeeze down, especially since they're down 1-0. They know they can't go down 2-0 at home with the first two games. I mean, nobody blows that lead except the Mavericks when you lose 2 in a row at home. So I think you're going to see, that 5 minutes, 42 seconds of Jeff Teague's going to vanish. I think Forbes, 12 minutes, maybe 8 or 10. Bobby Portis, and again, we scratch our heads and just talk about this every time. He looks so great. We use the guy. He's 5 for 8, big spark, intense. He got those crazy googly eyes going. He only got 14 minutes. I mean, I just don't get it why he's not the key guy off the bench for them. Instead, they consistently are giving those minutes to Connaughton, and he played almost 29 minutes. Guess what? 1 for 6, 0 for 4 from 3. I know he brings a different element defensively, and he can jump and everything, but it's not like he's a great defender. So I don't understand that. I think I'm not giving up on Portis because I do think he could get that 20-minute run and cut into a little bit of Connaughton's time. So I'm not going with Pat Connaughton. I know he's value. I know he got the big minutes, but he's not producing. I mean, he had a wide open, dead nuts 3 with nobody within 5 feet of him, and it was an air ball. So, just not going to go there. So, Portis off the bench really is my only option in this game. As far as the guys that are starting, I mean, it's easy to say. You got Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday. They all played 40, 41 minutes exactly. I think they may even see 43, 44 minutes because of this being really a must-win, in my opinion, for them. And, the question is, who can you fit in salary, and how are you going to work that? And it does give us an opportunity to get 2 of these guys in there by sitting Trae Young. So I'm I'm going to have a couple of different builds. Again, in these showdown slates, you sort of have to, in my the way I look at it. And so, Giannis Middleton or Giannis Holiday are probably the top two ways. I may even do a third with Middleton and Holiday. So I want to mix those three studs up, and then you're going to need one more value spot if you don't use Portis, which is a little certainly more riskier, and you could do that more in a GPP. But Tucker or Lopez will make some of my lineups just because of the minutes. I mean, Lopez only played 20, but I think that will go up a little bit. I mean, he didn't have any fouls. He wasn't in foul trouble. He just didn't seem to be in the flow of what was going on. So I'm a little concerned there, but I do think he'll pick that up because he is going to get some shots up. There's no doubt, and he'll get some blocks. PJ Tucker, me, I hold my nose, but 35 minutes, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists, and he's going to get a couple steals or, deflections and such. So I think he's playable. So, I think there's a good mixture here that you can get enough talent from both sides that you don't have to dig deep on these benches. Obviously, the 4 guys everybody wants to roster immediately is Trae Young, Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday. If you play 2 of those 4, you can get the rest of your lineup in with guys that you can feel comfortable are going to get 30-plus minutes. That's really the key. If you want to get a little bit more experimental and you play 3 of those 4, then you have to go to a Portis or, one of the guys you think can come off the bench and make a difference. But what I wouldn't recommend is just burning your lineups with heavy usage or ownership of forcing in a Forbes or a Teague or any of these guys, Lou Williams, a Kongwu, Solomon Hill. I think those guys are all traps. I just don't think you can trust them enough. I know Solomon was in that last winning lineup, but that again was a game 1 where they were both coming off game 7. So that's the way I look at it, sir.
Yeah, with Milwaukee, I agree. I think you need 2 of the big 3, Holiday, Middleton, Giannis. With the other group, PJ Tucker and Lopez. I'll just hit those starters next. I like PJ Tucker more because he's way cheaper.
Right.
Lopez at 11,000 on FanDuel. I'm not going to play him after he played 20 minutes. I think there's a chance he could play more if they say, you know what, Capella and Collins just got too many rebounds. We need help on the glass. So they could go for more minutes with Lopez, but
they should have lowered his price, though.
Yeah, they should have. But Portis, like you said, he looked great when he was out there, and he's, he got 15 minutes. He could get a few more minutes. They could have a similar approach where they let Lopez start, put up a couple threes, hold down the paint for a bit, and then they bring in Portis. But the thing is with Connaughton, with him getting the 29 minutes, obviously for some of those minutes they had Giannis at the 5, and they said we're going to go with Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, and then Tucker and Connaughton.
And they got murdered on the boards.
Right. So that's the X factor in terms of the Milwaukee rotation in minutes. Do they go similar, where they let Giannis play the 5 for the same amount of time? Do they give Lopez a couple more minutes or Portis a couple more? I'm not sure. I think it could go in any direction. But because of the pricing, I'm not going to risk it with Lopez at 11,000. I'd rather go Portis or Tucker or Connaughton. The thing about Connaughton is he is so streaky and so dependent on the 3. He was 0 for 4 on threes. If he goes 2 for 4 on 3-pointers, then he gives you value. If he shoots poorly again, then he won't. So, if we knew that they were going to play the same minutes, I would probably lean towards Portis, who again is cheaper than Connaughton on both sites.
Yeah.
But that's what we don't know. So
right.
But I also agree with you that Forbes is really on the fringes, and Teague, he also could disappear, like you said, and not even get the 6 minutes. So, I think we have a lot of overlap here, but we're going to build these lineups here throughout the afternoon and finalize. And so if you'd like to jump in with us, then you can do that at dfscoachtalk.com. We give out full lineups on FanDuel. We'll have 3 lineups to play tonight. We'll have a full Yahoo lineup. We'll have a cash core on DraftKings and a GPP core on DraftKings. Did I summarize that correctly, Coach?
You did. And we are the fastest growing DFS provider in the industry, and it's for a reason. It's because, we are utilizing statistical analysis, certainly, information spit out by optimizers as far as numbers, because that is a part of what we look at. And then all of the key factors, ownership, projections, taking a look at all of those pieces, but then talking through and thinking through the game scripting like we do on these podcasts, because that goes underrated. I mean, so many people are busy. They just go to the stats dependent stuff. And what we're so unique about is that we use all of that. And, we have our own internal head of analytics doing all of, that work for us. And we put that in with our game scripting and how we think things are going to pan out, because, there are specific things, in watching that you can see that really aren't measurable. And we add that to what we're doing. So we'd love to have you join us. Friday to me is the best day to join, because tonight we're giving out all of our basketball lineups, all of our baseball lineups, including a late slate, and our weekend golf lineups for the travelers, which we've been killing the weekends even better than the full tournament. So you get a 3-day pass for $10. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you've listened to the show and you finally want to jump in, you could take advantage of our best offer of the year, which is 2 full months from the day you sign up for $111. And that's a big discount. And anytime you sign up for anything at Coach Talk, you get everything that we offer, all of our content, all of our projections of how people are going to do, what our feeling is on ownership. And we're going to start transcending that all into our Discord as well. And then you're going to get full lineups, like we say. And as Andrew mentioned, on FanDuel and Yahoo, and a great core build for cash and GPP on DraftKings. So we've got everything you need. Definitely check us out. We'd love to have you. And if you're watching this right now on YouTube, one ask before I pass it back over to you, Andrew, if everybody could just take a second right now, hit the thumbs up, click the subscribe button. We are narrowing in on a very important goal for us for subs, and we'd love for you to make the difference. One thing I wanted to also mention is you can catch this 7 days a week in front of the paywall, and we're going to give you everything we got. And you can do that by checking this out on YouTube or any of our podcast outlets. I mean, we're everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, iHeart, Stitcher. And also on there, if you do listen to the podcast as opposed to watch it, take a second, hit the 5 stars, put a little comment. We have in 6 days, we do our monthly drawing. It's randomized drawing for anybody that's put 5 stars and a comment, and they win a full free week of DFS Coach Talk. And again, everything at DFS Coach Talk is everything that we have, all our sports. When you're a member, you're in Discord, you got everything we've got. So that is it, my friend.
Right on. And if you're going to jump in today with us, just do us a favor. Try to get in before 6 o'clock Eastern. We'd really appreciate that. That way we'll get you in and settled before the baseball and basketball lineups a little bit later on. So dfscoachtalk.com is where you sign up. Any questions, you can find us on Twitter at dfscoachtalk. You can follow the coach at JOESARVADI. And you can find me at Language Olympic. And you can find Coach right here tomorrow. He'll be running the solo NBA podcast tomorrow. So hope you'll join us for that one. But thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. And we'll see you tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.